So the New York Times released an article that is basically just rank propaganda for Guantanamo Bay. So here's the title of the piece. Guantanamo Bay, beyond the prison. With 6,000 residents and the feel of a college campus, the U.S. Navy base has some of the trappings of small-town America and some of a police state. So they compare it to a college, small-town America, sprinkled in with a little bit of a police state. In the article they lay out, they say it's a cross between a gated community and a police state. They bring up the fact that there's schools, bars, ball fields, neighborhoods that have swing sets, beaches with barbecue grills, and what's called pleasure boats, which sounds kind of dirty. There's a McDonald's, and the McDonald's has a drive-through big enough so that a military vehicle can drive through it, I guess a Hummer. There's a church. There's a bunch of suburban homes. There's a 9-hole golf course on Guantanamo Bay. Now, there's 39 prisoners who are left there. There's a staff of 1,500 people, mostly soldiers from the National Guard, and they're on 9-month tours of duty. And get this, they even imported labor. So they have Filipinos and Jamaicans are immigrants who do the labor. Apparently at 8 a.m. every day, they play the Star Spangled Banner. And when you read the article, there's not a single point or sentence or anything about what really went down at Guantanamo Bay, what it was for, the war crimes that were carried out there. Listen, I covered this stuff from the beginning, from like when I first started doing this. When I started doing it as like a hobby in 2008, I talked about this because I found it astonishing that some of the articles coming out at the time were the United States cut a deal with warlords in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And the deal after 9/11 was like, hey, we just got attacked. We know Al-Qaeda is responsible, so we want you to, if you see Al-Qaeda, ship them to us and they'll get some sort of monetary reward. And what happened is, turns out warlords in Pakistan and Afghanistan are not the most trustworthy folks. Go figure. They would just round up their political enemies and ship them to the U.S. and say, here, we got Al-Qaeda. Pay up. And Dick Cheney and George Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, that whole gaggle of neocon idiots was like, right on. And so we kept so many people there, kept so many people in Abu Ghraib, and we tortured them. And over the years, a lot of stories have come out about not just the fact that these are innocent people, but a lot of them, we know their backstory and their personal story. There's a guy I remember covering called Marat Kurnaz. He was a German citizen who was swept up there, totally innocent. He was tortured. And this is what we did. And the details of the torture are out of this world. I mean, we learned more and more about this over the years, but they would throw cold water on people and leave them in a cold cell overnight. One of them died from that. They would do loud music torture, just play loud music all night and drive these people crazy. Sleep deprivation. It's called, I think, Palestinian hangings is one of the things. Waterboarding, of course. There are people who died from it. Torture at both Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. And now you're seeing a complete and utter propaganda effort to be like, look, it's just like small town America on a college campus, and they play the Star Spangled Banner, and they have a McDonald's, and isn't this great? No, it's not, and it should be shut down immediately, and anybody who participated in crimes there and the leadership that ordered those crimes should be prosecuted. And, look, the best intellectual exercise to do about this stuff is just flip the countries. Just imagine any of our official state enemies doing the same thing that we did at Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib, and imagine them doing it, and what would our reaction be? We would say this is vile, authoritarian, dictatorial, tyrannical war crimes, and they need to be held accountable, and maybe we should do regime change there. But when we do it, it's called a random Tuesday, and we say, well, we mean well, so it's okay. Oh, we mean well, so when we torture innocent people and bomb innocent people, it's okay because our heart's in the right place. Oh, really? Is that the way it works? Imagine using that argument in court. Like you murder somebody and you're like, listen, I meant well for them. I didn't want to hurt anybody innocent, but I had to do what I had to do, and I meant well, and it was for everybody's well-being. They'd look at you like, are you a psychopath? There's almost an extra level of dehumanization when you do that. Because it's not even admitting the obvious of what your actions are and what the results are and what the consequences are. And this is what happened at Gitmo. This is what happened at Abu Ghraib. And when they say, oh, it's an enhanced interrogation, we took the torture techniques from these communist Chinese manuals on how to torture. We took a lot of the techniques from there. By the way, when our soldiers were waterboarded by the Japanese in World War II, afterwards, we executed the people who did the waterboarding after a trial. But when we do it, we say it's not even torture, it's just enhanced interrogation. Christopher Hitchens very famously was skeptical as to whether or not it was torture. He wanted to figure it out. So he volunteered to get waterboarded. Then he was like, oh, this is torture. Because he said, you're drowning. You're drowning. You feel like you're drowning. Thank you, New York Times. Thank you, New York Times, for doing your best to help clean up the image of an illegal detention center. And I haven't even brought up the constitutional issues here. I mean, apart from the fact these are war crimes, it's against international law, this violates the Eighth Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment. And also, there's no due process. There's no habeas corpus. You lock people up indefinitely. This is what we would pride ourselves on not doing as the leader of the free world and a constitutional republic. It's like, well, we don't violate people's rights because that's what authoritarian dictatorships do. And then we do it and we pretend like we're still somehow some beacon of democracy and freedom. It's atrocious. And again, New York Times, thank you for taking people who might be sort of naive to all the specifics of what went down and now sanitizing the image of Guantanamo Bay and making it seem like it's a fucking college town or a small town America or some getaway, some beach resort. Great job. Great job. I am quickly becoming the Joker, if you can't tell. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.